we're going to carry on with different ways or different types of solving for x problems. The last one we did was with absolute values, and the reality, this is very, very similar to that. There's going to be 3 steps. Number 1, we're going to isolate the radical. So isolate, it just means get it by itself, and the radical is that square root sign. So your first step is going to be to isolate the radical. Your second step, in order to get rid of the square root sign, and we talked about this in a previous lesson, the opposite of square rooting is squaring. So we're going to square both sides. Then we're going to solve for x. So those are the steps we're going to follow. Let's work through this one and you can see what all those steps look like individually. So the first step we're going to do is we need to move everything away from the radical sign. Okay? We can't take anything outside of the radical sign. So we're going to take our plus 8 and move it over here. When we take a plus 8 and move it over, it becomes minus 8. So we're left with the square root of 3x minus 2 equals 3 minus 8 is negative 5. So at this point, we have to get rid of this radical sign. And remember, the opposite or the inverse of square rooting is squaring something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square both sides, and I'm going to put some parentheses around everything because everything has to be squared. Now, instead of actually working out this times this by squaring it, here's what you need to remember. Squaring undoes a square root. So the square root of 3x minus 2 squared is just 3x minus 2. Squaring something undoes the square root of it. Okay? Equals negative 5 squared. The reason you need to put parentheses around this is because the negative has to be squared. So it's negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25. Okay, and now I'm going to move this minus 2 over. When I move a minus 2 over, it is going to become plus 2. 25 plus 2 is 27. Move this 3 over. When I move a times 3 over, it becomes 27 divided by 3. If I can simplify it, I need to. So the answer is 9. All right, isolate the radical. Square both sides. Solve for x. Next problem, square root of 5x plus 4 minus 2 equals 5. We are going to isolate the radical, which means I need to move my minus 2 over. When I move a minus 2 over, it becomes plus 2. So the square root of 5x plus 4 equals 7. Then I square both sides. Put it in parentheses if that helps you not lose your sign. So that's not a z, it's a 2. Square root undoes a square, or squaring undoes a square root. So we're left with 5x plus 4. 7 squared is 49. Move my plus 4 over. When I move it, it becomes minus 4. 49 minus 4 is 45. Move my 5 over. When I move my 5 over, it becomes division. I don't know why I put a 4 there. Hold on. And then 45 divided by 5 is 9. So we isolate the radical, square both sides, solve for x. All right, what I would like for you to do is to try this one and then come back and watch the video to make sure you're getting it right. Remember, isolate the radical, square both sides, solve for x. So you give it a shot, pretend I'm there with you, which for some of you it wouldn't matter because you wouldn't do what I want you to do anyway. But pretend I'm there, pretend you care, do the problem, and then push play and check it. Let's work it. We're going to isolate the radical. So move my minus 2 over. When I move a minus 2 over, it becomes plus 2. I didn't draw my radical long enough. There we go. Well, there we go. Equals 5 plus 2 is 7. Square both sides. Squaring undoes the square root. 7 squared is 49. Move this 7 over, it's going to become minus 7. So 6x equals 42. Move this over, it becomes divided by 6. And then you have 42 divided by 6, which simplifies down to 7. Okay? Isolate the radical. Square both sides. Solve for x. Your homework this week is going to be all in your textbook because I want us to do some review this week, and it's going to take me 6 hours to format that into those homework tests. So we'll do it all out of your textbook. Then next week I will take those textbooks up, or the next time we meet. Remember, we're not meeting until I believe the 15th is our next face-to-face time. I will take your textbook up on the 15th. I will get all of the work that we've been doing in our textbook graded. You will take home handouts, all right? You're going to do all of lesson 26. Activity 2, 3, 4, and 5. It sounds like a lot, but it's maybe 20 questions. I would like to, well, we need to start kind of doing some review work as we go so you don't forget the older stuff, all right? So your activity 2 and 3 is just what we just did. It's solving for x with radicals in there. Activity 4 is solving for x. Now listen, activity 4 tells you for each step, identify the property of equality that was used. Do not worry about doing that. On activity 4, lesson 26, just solve for x. Do not worry about labeling everything, all right? Number 5 is multiplying and dividing terms. Remember, when you are doing that, whole numbers are whole numbers. If you're multiplying, multiply. If you're dividing, dividing. But with exponents, they have their own set of rules. When you are multiplying exponents, you add them. When you are dividing exponents, you subtract them. All right? If you have any questions, let me know.